What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Too Pop to Handle. I'm your host, Andrew Nucatola, your pop culture best friend. And as always, I hope you guys are having a fabulous week. And even if your week maybe isn't going as fabulous as you hope that it would be, you are at least having a better week than Kim Davis. And you know what? Let's celebrate that. I feel like there's a lot to celebrate in this last week, though, you know, the world is still on fire for sure, but there's definitely been some glimmers of hope, starting with one of the biggest ones is the Supreme Court denying that evil witches rotted petition to overturn the same-sex marriage law. They said absolutely not, you evil rotted witch. The gays are here to stay, and for that, we are so thankful. We also saw a blue wave start to sweep over the country last week, which is so exciting with all of the elections happening on election day. And I don't want to make New York the center of, the universe, because obviously there is no center of the world. But let's be real, the New York mayoral election was really the talk of the town, and Zohran Mamdani is officially the mayoral-elect of New York City, and I personally could not be happier. The news actually came in like 20-30 minutes after I stopped recording last week, so I cleaned up the studio was literally my living room. I cleaned everything up, got on the couch, and was importing my footage, and by the time that it imported and I was ready to edit, I saw the news, and my boyfriend was already out with some friends, so I texted him, and I was like, are we drinking tonight? We got to go celebrate this, right? And he was like, absolutely. Meet me in Washington Square Park and let's just figure it out and party from there. So we got drinks with some friends and just celebrated this new cutie patootie that is coming in to save New York City. And I personally could not be happier. But there were a lot of things to celebrate with this election last week. Virginia's first female governor, the first female Democratic governor of New Jersey, Prop 50 passing in California. We really pulled through. And, part of me is like, where were we last November when we needed it? But, you can't help a rigged election, but that's another conversation for another day. But I'm very happy to see that these local elections are turning blue and things are starting to look up as much as they can. Obviously we still have some time with the current administration. However, it starts in your own neighborhood. So I'm thrilled to see that we had a blue wave come across the country last week. And while we're on the topic of celebrations, this isn't a political celebration, but it is a very big win for the pop culture and the Too Pop to Handle community, because a new neurological evaluation confirms that Wendy Williams does not have frontotemporal dementia, which was the main condition that was really driving her guardianship, which basically means that these test results can now be used in her court case and can hopefully get her out of this guardianship and just kind of get her free and go to her house in Florida like she wants. Again, this wasn't a big enough update to make it a story in today's episode, but while we were on the topic of celebrations, you really just got to hold on to whatever you can these days to give yourself a little glimmer of hope, whether that is Zohran winning the New York mayoral election, whether it is Wendy Williams' neurological evaluation coming back. There's a little bit of glimmer of hope for everybody. We just have to, eventually all these little glimmers will build up to a bigger glimmer, and we will get out of these dark times together. And the podcast will always be here to remind you of that. So yes, I hope you guys are having a fabulous week and you're getting by with these small wins, because that is exactly how I am surviving these days. That being said, if you guys are in New York City, I hope you guys are bundled the fuck up, because I had to break out a scarf and a puffer jacket today on November 11th. And I feel like this is earlier than I'm usually in a puffer jacket. Maybe my mind isn't remembering a time in which I was wearing a full winter jacket. I feel like usually this time of year, I'm in a sweater and a leather jacket, which is fine. I'm content with that. But the fact that I'm in a full scarf and puffer jacket while there is snow coming down the second week of November definitely feels a little too early. It feels a little too wintry to still be in fall. But I mean, the Farmer's Almanac did warn us that we're going to have a cold winter. Granted, they're going out of publication next year. So I don't know how much I believe them anyway, if they're giving up on us now. It's everybody else has to truck through these dark times. You're going to give up on us too. But regardless, it is supposed to be a cold winter. So I hope you guys are all bundled up. And if you are not living in snowy conditions right now, I envy you. With all of that being said, let's get this show started, because I feel like I'm teetering on rambling, which I already do enough. And there was a lot to get into this week, really fun, exciting things. I'm very thrilled for this week's episode. So let's kick things off the way that we always do, with our Drew releases, our new music releases from last week and our new releases coming up this week. Last week, we had some really big releases, and I am so excited to chat with you guys about them. First things first is the album from last week that we had was Rosalia's new album, Lux. And just like I said last week, where I was saying how Rosalia is such an artist who really knows how to craft a really interesting and complex and dynamic album, this album is incredible. incredible. It is so beautiful. She's giving us these like insane vocals and this crazy production on it. I mean, she is literally singing in 13 different languages on this album, which that alone is just like mind blowing. But the production, the vocals, all of the deeper meanings to it. Again, I haven't really fully dived into just all of that, but just listening to it sonically and like it is truly a gorgeous body of work. And to say I'm impressed would truly be the understatement of the year, because this album is such a beautiful piece of work. And I am so happy that we are alive to be witnessing the art that Rosalia is putting out into the world. And another artist that I am so happy to be alive to witness their art coming into the world is no other than Hilary Duff. Two very different artists, but you know what? They are two strong women who we need in today's society. And Hilary Duff has released her comeback single, Mature, her first single in 10 years. And it is exactly what I needed. A fun, upbeat pop song that, just like she promised, is for the gays. I mean, it is exactly what every gay man wants. Just a song to get us up, get us on the dance floor, and just give us a good vibe. Now, granted, the lyrical content is a little, not heavy per se, but a little bit more deep than I expected from a Hilary Duff comeback single, but that's not a bad thing. Like that isn't a negative on the song at all, but I wasn't expecting this song to be so telling about clearly like a past experience that she went through, which must have been quite some time ago, because she's been with her husband now and the husband is on the song, so clearly, or helped write the song, so clearly this isn't about their relationship, but I'm not quite sure what relationship she's singing about in the song. And she did say that the song is autobiographical, so like it clearly is reflecting a time in her life in which she was dating somebody a little bit older, and they were saying that she's young enough to be your daughter, which is not the best situation, or not what anybody wants to hear when you're in a relationship. But unfortunately, especially in Hollywood, it does happen quite often. But I'm very happy to see that she has moved on and gotten herself out of this situation. So I'm very curious to see like what she taps into on this new album and in this new era of Hilary Duff. But I'm very excited. I'm loving the song. It is so much fun. I actually recorded a reaction video that is up on my YouTube now. So if you want to watch me listen to and watch the music video for the first time, you can head over to our YouTube channel and it is live for you guys now. But I'm very excited for this new Hilary Duff era. And she is going on a little mini tour, which I am very excited for. She is coming to New York and I will absolutely be in that room because I have to see Miss Hilary Duff on this new era. Like I just feel like she has this all new energy, this whole new vibe, and she's really just going for it. And I am so excited. So I will keep you guys updated on that. And yeah, I'm very excited to see where this new era takes Miss Hilary Duff. And on the topic of new eras, Katy Perry has released a new single called Band-Aids. And you know what? It fucking slaps. I love this track. I feel like Katy Perry has had quite the last few years. She's kind of had this backfire of an era, and I still stand by the fact that I don't think 143 was as bad as everybody made it out to be. Have I listened to it since it came out? No. But did I think it was as bad as the internet painted it to be? Also, no. I wasn't thrilled to see who she was working with, and all of that jazz. But there were some songs on it that I did enjoy, and I did, I'll tap my foot to here and there. But I don't think 143 was as terrible as everybody made it out to be. But there is, there's more talent inside of Katy Perry that I think she could have tapped into. And I feel like we're slowly getting that back with this new track, Band-Aids. I am loving it. It's kind of like if One of the Boys and Never Really Over meshed and, had a baby. It has a little bit of that original Katy Perry, where she was a little more alternative kind of vibes. And then the chorus has a little more of that pop vibe, but it's not full teenage dream pop. It has that Never Really Over feel to it. I am loving it. And it kind of gives us a better idea of what happened with her in Orlando as her relationship was ending. She kind of couldn't meet the expectations that she had for a partner, and it just wasn't working out. I also thought the music video was really great. All of these bad things happening to her. She's having all this bad luck, but through all of it, she finds her Daisy at the end, which is obviously paying homage and showing love to her daughter. And I just think, it's really sweet to see the way that Katy always, this isn't the first time we've heard Katy, reference that Daisy is kind of like a ray of sunshine in her life, and is always kind of reminding her to keep going and things like that. And I love the video. I love the song. I think Katy Perry, this was such a smart move. And whether this is her launching into a new era or an album, which I don't think it is. I think this is kind of like a droplet kind of vibe. She's going to do a few singles here and there, kind of like she did in between, it was Smile. whenever she was doing like Never Really Over, Harley's in Hawaii, Daisies, you know, she was doing a bunch of singles and no album, and then they led into a full album. I can't remember exactly when that was. It was like pandemic-ish time. So I feel like everything was a little blurry back then. But I feel like we might be kind of in that vibe again, which I would be down with because those songs were honestly all so great. And I feel like it was like Katie was able to really play around with not different sounds per se, but she was able to not fully commit to a whole body of work and just kind of put everything into like one really great song. And like maybe a controversial opinion, but I would rather take a killer single. Like I would much rather one Never Really Over than getting another album like 143 and like an era that was just so not well received and really it felt like half baked almost, if that makes sense. So really excited to see like what is next for Katie and how we're kind of navigating past this 143 era. And even if this is just like the last thing we hear from her for a little while, I think this single puts a much better taste in the general public and just anybody's mouth for her than 143 would have left. So very excited to see that she is kind of, you know, saying goodbye to that era and keeping things rolling with Band-Aids. And then we also had a new song from Charlie XCX come out this week. I honestly have not listened to it yet, but it is from the upcoming Wuthering Heights movie, which she is doing the music for, starring Jacob Elordi and Margot Robbie. And I didn't listen to it yet. I heard some snippets and I'm really into this like experimental kind of vibe that she's giving us. This like haunted experimental kind of track that I'm really liking the vibes from the snippet, but again, I just haven't had a second to actually sit down and listen to it. However, something really interesting in her caption for the music video, she said, "From my new album, Wuthering Heights." So it almost makes me wonder if Charlie is going to do an entire album to be like a companion album to the Wuthering Heights movie. Now, I don't know if she's doing the entire soundtrack and that's what she's alluding to. Like if like she's doing the music for the movie, yes, but I don't know if she is personally recording every single track for the movie. I don't imagine that, but I could see her kind of going on like a Beyonce The Lion King route where she did like The Gift, which was the soundtrack for the movie, and then Black is King was like a companion album to it and then like a companion movie kind of vibe. They were like in tandem, you know? So I'm curious to see like how she navigates that. But the fact that you said my new album, Wuthering Heights, was very interesting, and I'm curious to see what is next for Miss XCX, but we will have to wait and see, and I will listen to it, and maybe I'll give my thoughts about it in the newsletter or something this week, or I'll talk about it next week. I don't know, but I'll get around to it, you know. Things are busy. We got a lot going on. Good things, but there's just a lot going on. And that wraps up our releases from last week, but we do have some very exciting and fun ones coming up this week. We have a new single from Robyn coming out. Actually, if you're listening to this on release day, it's coming out today on Wednesday, November 12th. It is called Dopamine, and it is her first solo project since 2018. She's been on people's albums and then like feature songs and things like that, but I don't think she's put anything out just as Robyn since 2018. So kind of this new phase for her. It's been quite some time. So I'm very excited to see what the song has in store. Like I said, if you're listening to this, the song is already out. You don't have to wait until Friday, but very excited for this. And then we also have a new album, kind of, I don't really know what she's doing, but Jay Stevens, you guys know that I love, is putting out an album called Total Sellout, which I'm assuming is going to be Sellout 1 and Sellout 2 as one full album. And then she said there's bonus songs that the J-Bays, which are her fans, are going to love, but she's not calling it a full album yet. So I don't really know what to call it, but it is a new body of work in which Jay Stevens is releasing with some songs that we know and love already and some new ones. So again, take that however you want to, but I love me some Jay Stevens, so I will be fully tuned into this, and I cannot wait to see what she has up her sleeve. And that wraps up our Drew releases. And before we get into our moments from the week that were just too pop to handle, I always like to take this time to remind you guys that if any point during this show you were loving what you were hearing, go ahead and leave me a 5-star rating wherever you were listening. If you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and hit subscribe, drop a comment, give me a thumbs up. These are really the best and easiest way to help support the show, and they are literally free. You can leave a review, you can like a video, you can subscribe, you can follow the show for $0.00. And I mean, between the recession and inflation, you know, nothing is free these days. But you know what is free? Leaving a review and a 5-star rating for Too Pop to Handle. And I think we need to cherish the free things that we can get in life these days. So take a second if you are loving what you were hearing and go ahead and leave me a rating. It would seriously mean the world to me. But of course, I need to give you guys a show to find out if you love what you were hearing. So let's keep things rolling and dive into some pop culture moments from the week that were just too pop to handle, some pop culture rapid fire, kicking it off, kind of piggybacking our main topic from last week's episode, which was Chrishell Stause being the absolute mother of Selling Sunset that she is. However, her, she is officially leaving Selling Sunset. So Chrishell Stause did an exclusive interview with Bustle last week. I think it literally came out the day after my episode came out. And I was like, well, damn it. This couldn't come out a day sooner. So I could have chatted about it. But nonetheless, we are here. It is fine. She chatted with Bustle and let them know that she will no longer be on Selling Sunset going into the 10th season. She said that I've gotten to a place where I don't need the show financially. I'm lucky to have other forms of employment because it's no longer good for my mental health. She said she wishes the best of the show and she has no ill will towards the show. The show has given me so many opportunities and I don't want to be bitter about it, even though I'm leaving, not in the way that I would have loved. So it seemed like this wasn't a decision that she was just like decided to make, on the fly. This is definitely something that she had to think about. And I mean, Selling Sunset has been such a huge part of her career. Like all of the opportunities that she has in the reality TV space and just really any partnership or appearance, things like that, it all stems from Selling Sunset. And it's very nice to see that she isn't like completely writing it off. Some people leave a show and they write it off as if it never happened. And they're like, nope, that's a different person. That's not me. She's not doing that. She's very aware of the privilege that she has from being on the show, which again, she is the queen of the show. So of course she's going to leave with nothing but grace. But it does beg the question. I'm wondering if she's leaving just the show and she's going to stay working at the O Group, or if she's leaving the O Group and the show altogether, because we know like Nicole last season got fired from Selling Sunset, but Selling Sunset operates as a different being than the Oppenheim Group. Because there are plenty of agents who work for Brett and Jason who don't actually aren't on the show. So I'm curious if she's going to be leaving the O Group with, exiting the show, or if she's going to stay and still do real estate and just not be on camera anymore. So I'm curious to see how that dissolves, because there hasn't been any like clear decision making there. But I think her time has come. This makes so much sense. I was saying even last week, like there's no reason for Chrishell to be on this show anymore. She has outgrown all of them, and there's not shade to the rest of the cast. It's just Chrishell being Chrishell, mother, like I always say. I just think it's come to a point where like she has been through the ringer on this show one too many times. And like, I just think, like I said, she has built something outside of Selling Sunset that is bigger than what she gets from the show. And if anything, I think she's bringing more viewers to the show than than anybody else is. So I think they even said like the producers like begged her, and she was like, there's nothing that's going to make me want to stay on this show. Like I'm done. The lines have been crossed. You can't do any of that. You can't reverse any of the damage that's been done. And it's just kind of like she's wiping her hands. She's done. She's good. And again, I don't blame her, but I'm curious to see like what is next for her, because I do think there's something of interest of her and G-Flip. Like I think the two of them as a couple are very interesting, and like people are tapped into them. People love them. So I'd be curious to see if like the two of them would do a reality show of some sort, or if they're going to do anything in the reality space at all, or if Chrishell's going to go on a show again. Like, I don't know. I'm curious to see like how Chrishell navigates this, because this does kind of open up so many opportunities to her really across the board, whether it is for going into a new career path. Because at the end of the day, real estate is her career path, and she just happens to be on a show while doing it. Granted, I don't know how much real estate is actually happening on Selling Sunset these days. Like I said last week, I think they rang the bell twice. Like I don't really know what they're selling on this show. I think a lot of the sales happen off camera. But I am very curious to see like what is next for Chrishell Stause. And regardless, I'll always support the girl because I fucking love her. But I do think that this is very necessary, and I am very excited for her to like close this chapter with grace and just kind of progress on to whatever is next for her, whether it's another TV show, whether it is focusing just on maybe her like social media, public appearance kind of career and that kind of vibe. She can really go like whatever route she wants. So sending my wishes to Chrishell, as I know that she completely dominates whatever is next for her, because once again, Chrishell Stause is mother. Moving on to the next moment of the week that was just too pop to handle. Shay Mitchell is launching a skincare brand aimed at children, and she's getting some heat online for it. So over the weekend, she posted some photos to her Instagram of children wearing face masks, and she shared that she is launching a new skincare brand called Rinny, and it is to teach our children that taking care of themselves can be fun, gentle, and safe, and people are mad as hell over this. Now, I understand where people are upset over this, because it is very unnecessary. There is no need for a child to, and these are like literally kids. These aren't like 13-year-olds. These were like 6 to 7-year-olds wearing these face masks, maybe even younger. And I understand like there is truly no reason for a child to have a skincare routine of any sort. There are so many bigger things for them to be worried about than putting on a face mask and all of that jazz. However, I don't think this makes Shay Mitchell a bad person or like a out of touch, unaware celebrity. I think what this really does is it kind of puts into perspective where we are as a society, that we're allowing our children to grow up to this, because in reality, Shay Mitchell is a businesswoman and she saw an avenue to go down in which she thought that she could make money, and she took it. And I mean, she isn't wrong. There are so many children on TikTok, like truly children on TikTok, that I will see sometimes doing a full skincare routine. They have the hairband on to keep their hair out of their face, their moisturizer, the micellar water, like truly. And they are like 8-year-old girls. And I just, every time I see it, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like I always hit not interested because I'm not a freak and I don't need to see any of that. But like, this isn't a crazy concept for her to come up with. And I think she saw an avenue, like I said, to go down in which she could make money, and she took it. Was it the right avenue? Kind of up for debate. Again, what I really think this does is kind of puts into perspective where we have gotten to as a society, in which we are allowing children to grow up way too fast. And like when you look back, especially like my generation, we grew up with so many targeted like TV networks and channels and celebrities made just for us, like Disney Channel, Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network. We had Hannah Montana, High School Musical, Camp Rock. You know, we had so many, iCarly, Drake and Josh. There were so many things targeted just to children. And even going further back than that, The Amanda Show, we had all that. Like there were so many things and so many ways for children to get entertainment and truly stay kids longer, if that makes sense. And nowadays, I feel like these kids are being born with iPads in their hand and they're scrolling on a For You page by the time that they can say their name. Like it's gotten to a point where it is so crazy and there's no separation between like being a kid and being an adult. You literally go from like pissing in diapers to learning your name and learning the alphabet to then like figuring out how to do a 10-step skincare routine on TikTok, because there was just like no separation of any of it. And now don't get me wrong, I'm not coming on here and defending Shay Mitchell for this, because I don't think this was a great idea, nor do I think this was a terrible idea, because there is kind of this market for it that we've allowed as a society to be created, because we are allowing our kids to need, quote unquote, a skincare routine and to, you know, be interested in wanting to buy all these products. And, you know, over consumerism starts literally at the age of like 4 now. I feel like it's just like, this is kind of the world in which we're living. And I think with a celebrity releasing a brand like this, I think people are having a hard time admitting that like, oh wow, there is a problem in the world and now there's somebody to blame it on. So they're just like putting the blame on Shay Mitchell. Again, I'm not defending her on this. I just think this is kind of like a lot of like built up anger being targeted at one person. Cause on like, when you really think about it, no children are being harmed here. And like at the end of the day, that is the most important thing. Nobody is being hurt. Nobody's being harmed by this. You know, they are gentle ingredients. They are clean and safe ingredients. And there are much bigger issues in the world regarding children's safety than Shay Mitchell putting out a skincare brand. But again, it just does kind of open up an uncomfortable conversation about the way that we are allowing our children to grow. I say our children like I have kids, but you guys know what I mean. That we're allowing children to grow up so fast in today's society. And I just think this is a lot of built up anger and unhad conversations between parents and between aunts and uncles and whoever it is that is now just like getting thrown onto Shay Mitchell. And I think it needs to be taken a little bit less off of Shay Mitchell and kind of dispersed throughout the entire parent community to be like, hey, maybe we shouldn't let our kids take our face masks and our face wash and all this stuff and like play with it. Like they don't need to be doing this. They should be outside like rubbing their face with dirt and like eating grass like we all used to do. And there should be other conversations being had. But in today's world, you know, we see one target and we kind of all just like plummet towards it and throw all of our anger towards the first open target that we can see, which this week seems to be Shay Mitchell. But I just thought it was a really interesting addition and like new topic to be brought up in this conversation of the lack of children's media and children's networks and how, you know, kids are really growing up so fast these days. And there was a lot of deflection happening from, I think, parents and, you know, guardians onto Shay Mitchell, who is this easy target now. But yeah, very interesting week for the skincare and parenting community, so it seems. Moving on to our next moment of the week that we're just too pop to handle. The Michael Jackson biopic has become the most viewed music biopic trailer of all time. It received 116.2 million views within the first 24 hours, making it the most viewed music video biopic trailer of all time and the largest trailer launch in Lionsgate history. For reference, the Eras Tour Taylor Swift movie received 96.1 million views within 24 hours, and the Bob Marley One Love biopic received 60.1 million views within 24 hours. So there's a big demand for this new Michael Jackson biopic. His nephew Jafar Jackson is starring in the movie as his uncle Michael, and I think that it's just so sweet that his nephew is playing him in this movie. I mean, when you think about Michael Jackson and his career, it really was always so family oriented, starting out with the Jackson 5 and, just all of his relationship with Janet. And, there was always just like a family core value to the Jacksons and, again, starting with the 5 of them and all of that. So to see his nephew kind of carrying on that legacy by playing him in this movie, I think it is really sweet. And of course, this is his nephew, so his genes are in there, but he looks and sounds just like him. Like, it was almost freaky to watch the trailer because I was like, that is Michael Jackson. Like, it was really weird to see him on the screen and like portraying his uncle because it truly looked like Michael Jackson in this trailer. So they nailed it with the casting there. And on the topic of the cast, it also stars Nia Long, Coleman Domingo, Miles Teller, and Kat Graham, just to name a few of the big names in this very highly anticipated biopic. Now, what I think is really interesting about this movie is that it appears, just based on the trailer at least, that it goes up until like 1987 in the bad era, where it kind of seems like it ends from what we can tell from the trailer. We don't see anything really past that in Michael's life. And we did learn from the team and the director of the movie that they did end up having to cut over 2 hours of the movie that they filmed due to legal reasons with the accusations that occurred later in his life. There are still ongoing settlements against now his estate, since he has past of people who, there were sexual allegations against him and things like that. And they are still ongoing to this day. So due to that, they aren't allowed to show or talk about anything that happened regarding that. And unfortunately, that is a really big part of the last, I would say, 15 years of Michael Jackson's life. So I guess that was like the sweet spot where they could end it without going into uncharted territory. And like legally, they cannot even reference any of these things. And it does kind of leave the story kind of fully untold without going into that, because yes, these accusations are, very upsetting and disturbing and things like that. A lot of them have been dismissed, and there have been, lots of people speaking out against them not being true. The law says you can't talk about it, so they can't go into it. But it just seems really interesting to me to like do a biopic and not cover the last 22 years of somebody's life, even if they weren't the best 22 years of his life. Like, they are still such a big moment. There are so many big moments that happened in his career or personal life. I mean, with his kids and everything like that. Like, there are a lot of things that happened after that era that like do still tell the story of Michael Jackson and his legacy. So I'm really curious to see like how they navigate that. And I mean, of course, like the early 2000s were not the best era for Michael Jackson. We all know that. We all remember it. We all were living through it. Most of us were. I'm sure there are some people who are a little bit younger than me and weren't fully alive for that era. But like, I think there is a way to paint those years of his life in a light that isn't so one-sided or negative or positive. It's just the harsh reality of life. There are some times in our lives where things aren't as great as they should be. And, it's just, I'm really curious to see how they navigate telling those stories without like telling that part of his story without showing it in the movie. So they also did say that while they're not ready to yet confirm plans for a second film, they will say that the creative team is hard at work making sure that we're in a position to deliver more Michael soon after they release the first film. So it appears to me, especially if they filmed it all and like they just can't release it for legal reasons, I feel like what they might do is do like maybe like mini parts of it. Maybe they'll release I don't know, like a limited release, like a digital release with like extra years tapped on. And it's just like quick little snippets of his life, or like there's like a segment you can purchase online and it's not the full story. Cause again, they can't talk about any of these accusations at all. And it does kind of leave holes in the story if they don't talk about it. But I wonder how they're going to go about just kind of like giving us the rest of that content to show how those last 20 or so years of his life kind of fanned out. Because again, it does kind of leave us with a fully untold story if they don't tap into those last so many years from 1987 to 2009. So I'm curious to see like how they navigate that once they get there. But the movie's been delayed quite a few times and we finally have a release date. It is set to release on April 24th, 2026. So just a few more months until that movie comes out. So I personally am very excited for this. I mean, I wasn't alive for a lot of Michael Jackson's career. He died in 2009. So I was like 15. So through his really like the height of his career and when he was the, you know, really building this legacy that he has left behind, I wasn't alive. And even people who were alive, like that is somebody that, you know, you'd want to relive it because he was really on top of the world and breaking records and doing things that nobody was doing in music and music videos and things like that. So I think it's a story that needs to be told. It is just unfortunate that like there is this like darker side of it that we'll never really know exactly what happened, you know, but that can't even be discussed or talked about because people are still constantly arguing and fighting and in a legal battle with his estate now. I believe the last update is like they wanted $400 million from his estate from this lawsuit. And I know that there was that other documentary that came out, Finding Neverland, back in like 2019. I never watched it. I always thought all of those conversations were very, you know, Michael Jackson was painted in the public eye not the best always. And it kind of, not to make any excuse for any of these accusations, of course, because that is not what I'm doing, but it kind of has that same effect as like Pee Wee Herman had, as like the public wanted to like, he wasn't like everybody else and he was different. And, you know, his sexuality was kind of brought into things and stuff like that. And people different situations, of course, they were very different people, but like similar to like Britney Spears having her meltdown. Like I think the public did kind of run Michael Jackson into this kind of crazy few years of his life. Even when you think about like when he was holding his child over the banister, like definitely not his best moment, but I do think he was in kind of an insanity era for the last few years of his life because of like what was going on in his career and in his life and things like that. So it's something that's always interested me. And I never, like when that documentary came out, I was like, I'm going to sit this one out because I don't need to watch something like this. You know, it's not something that I want to see. And I want to say in like 2005, his criminal charges were acquitted and he was found not guilty on a lot of them. And a lot of the parents who had people or had children who slept at Neverland did come forward and be like, we know fully that none of this happened. Like we are confidently saying like this is what happened and it wasn't what is happening. But, you know, there's different stories from different people. So it's just like a very sticky slope. But I am curious to see like how they navigate this in this era of the biopic, because it does leave out a huge chunk of his life that is just not being told. I mean, he was 50 when he died. So if they don't tell 22 years of his life, that is half of his life that they are not telling. And it's just seems interesting that is the you know, for a biopic that we waited so long for, it seems interesting that is the path that they would want to go down with this kind of story, you know? But who knows how they will handle it. That is not for me to worry about and for them to figure it out on themselves. But like I said, the movie comes out in April, so I'm very excited to see whatever they do put together for this story, because I'm excited to see, you know, how they bring this story to life and to see his nephew kind of pay homage to his uncle in such a major way. But moving on to the next moment of the week that was just too pop to handle, Wicked One Wonderful Night. Let me just take a second. Round of applause. I mean, they truly... what a fantastic television special did they put on for this Wicked for Good movie. Like, it was truly next level incredible. I mean, let alone just like the way that they built this stage and the way that they brought these songs to life in such a new way. They did such a great job at like highlighting the stories of all of these characters, highlighting each of the cast members, you know, even like Ethan Slater, Bowen Yang, Marissa Bodie, like they all got all of these moments to really shine throughout the night. And it really was such a celebration of not just Ariana and Cynthia. It was a celebration of the entire cast and the movie and the story and just everything that Wicked is like in this wonderful world of Oz. It was seriously such an incredible night. I mean, I can't get enough of it. Something that I thought was really interesting, though, is there is some backlash for NBC right now because Marissa Bodie, who plays Nessa Rose in the movie, did make a comment about how like Wicked is about a power-hungry dictatorship and, you know, how that is kind of like a theme through the movie. And she ended up getting a standing ovation when she said it. And they ended up cutting that out of the final show, which on one hand, I'm not surprised that they ended up cutting out a line line about a power-hungry dictator just in today's world, because our loser of a president is very sensitive and throws tantrums, and he is very quick to cut off any network that talks negatively about him, which is so sick and twisted and such a fucking insane world that we're living in. Like, it is just so wild that is the harsh reality of the way that media has to kind of play safe right now. But on the other hand, that is quite literally the plot of Wicked. Like, there is a power-hungry dictator who wants his way or the highway. And like, whether or not our president is also a power-hungry dictator is like, that is not Steven Schwartz's problem. Like, that is not Wicked's issue. That is literally just the plot of Wicked. Wicked is a very political, pushing the envelope kind of show. So like, whether or not our current president can relate to that or not, that is not Wicked's fault. That is quite literally the overarching plot line of the movie. So I just think it's really funny that like, regardless of who the president is right now, that line probably would have been written into this special anyway, because it is at the core value of Wicked and just like the story of it. But it's very interesting to see how, we have to be very careful and sensitive of what we say so we don't upset the giant fucking child that is our current president. But anyway, let's, keep moving on and talk about the highlights of the night, because there were plenty of highlights throughout this night. Cynthia Erivo flying around that theater during Defying Gravity. I have never gasped the way that I gasped in that moment. Like, the way that she was singing so flawlessly, flying around that theater. And I know that she was singing live in the movie. Like, I know that that is how they filmed it. She was literally singing it while she was flying around Oz, whatever you want to call it, when they were on the soundstage. But like, watching her do it not painted green and watching her do it flying over a live studio audience was fucking insane. Ariana performing Popular with Little Remington on stage, just adorable. And the way that like she was just like letting him have his moment and like wasn't making him feel pressured or rushed to like finish the line or whatever. And like you could tell that she very much had like a maternal instinct in that moment. It was like letting him do whatever he felt comfortable doing and like was just really feeding into his energy. It was so sweet, and it was adorable. I loved it. I mean, the quartet that was Idina Menzel, Kristen Chenoweth, Ariana Grande, and Cynthia Erivo performing For Good with Steven Schwartz on the piano at the Gershwin Theater. Could you say a gayer sentence? Like, could you say a more buzzwordy gay man sentence other than that? It was seriously... I still can't get over it. And like watching Cynthia and Ariana like tear up singing this song to each other, and then seeing Kristen and Idina come out and all of them singing and harmonizing together and like on the stage where it all started with the two of them. It was just such a beautiful moment. And like, it's just... what Wicked has become in the last 2 or so years is so beyond what we ever could have imagined. And like, just knowing like how deep rooted Wicked is in so many people's lives, and even deeper than that with The Wizard of Oz and with, all the L. Frank Baum's novels and everything. Like, there is such like a cherished, group within the Oz world. And like seeing Kristen and Idina fully welcome Ariana and Cynthia Schwartz being on stage performing, playing the piano, like watching the way that they have welcomed these two into this world. And like Kristen and Ariana obviously go way back, and Ariana performed at the 15-year thing and everything like that. And I mean, Cynthia Erivo is Cynthia Erivo, and it's just like the most talented human being walking on planet Earth. So like, obviously, but just watching it and seeing them all perform, and it's so sweet. And it was seriously just such a huge moment just for culture in general. Like, it is truly, that is going to go down in history for movies, for Broadway, for gay people everywhere. It was beautiful. And speaking of moments that are going to go down in gay history, Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo singing Get Happy and Happy Days Are Here Again, just like Judy Garland and Barbra Streisand did back in 1963. I need a minute. When Ariana Grande opened her mouth and started singing Get Happy, the way that my heart fell to my ass, I was like, this is the gayest moment of my life. Like, it was just so incredible to watch. And like, even like the gleek inside of me thinking about Kurt and Finn, oh my God, Kurt and Rachel singing this song. Imagine Kurt and Finn singing this duet together. That is some like Tumblr fanfic shit that somebody probably wrote once, back in the day of like Kurt and Finn singing all of the Rachel and Kurt duets. But like even thinking about the two of them singing this duet, and like if you tie it back to Glee when Kurt and Rachel were auditioning to do Defying Gravity, and just the whole moment was so special. But just like really watching the two of them perform this duet that is so beloved and so like coveted in Broadway and theater and just pop culture in general, and ending it on such a high note, it was unbelievable. Like they truly could not have done a better job with this entire special. And that was not even the cherry on top. Like that was like the cherry on top was Idina, Kristen, Ariana, and Cynthia performing together. This was like they took a true gold, 24 karat gold sauce, melted it down, and drizzled it on top of the sundae that was the Wicked One Wonderful Night special, because it was just chef's kiss. It was perfection. And I just can't get enough of Wicked. Like I'm so in it, and I'm so obsessed, and I can't, like, by this time next week, I will have seen the movie. I'm seeing it next Monday. So next week's episode will be my Wicked for Good review, which I know a lot of my listeners found me from my Wicked original review. So very excited to bring you guys my second review next week, and we will talk all about it. And I'm sure I will shed a lot of tears, and it's going to be very emotional, but I'm very excited. But it is crazy. Like this era is coming to an end. Speaking of this era really quick, the premieres are in full swing. They already did Brazil, they did Paris, they did London, they have Singapore coming up on the 13th, and then they have New York on the 17th. And it's been really fun to watch like last year's press tour compared to this year's press tour. And I've talked about this on TikTok, and I believe on here as well, but just like how I was predicting this difference in these press tours and how they were going to kind of approach them so differently. And if you think about last year, I mean, those press looks they were taken right out of an L. Frank Baum novel. Like they were paying homage to The Wizard of Oz and to the world of Oz so perfectly. Like they were so intentionally just fanning out over Wicked, The Wizard of Oz, and everything that comes with the Oz world. And for this press tour, we're seeing a little bit more like individuality, and not every single look is really nailing Oz on the head, which kind of just speaks to what I was predicting for this press tour. Like we are going to see Ariana, Cynthia, and all of them just kind of like find their own selves within the press tour. All of that being said, we're still seeing Cynthia stick with a pretty much black theme for this entire press tour, which she did do a lot last press tour as well. She did a lot of green as well last press tour, but this one she's done pretty much all black, I'm pretty sure, but very couture. Like she is such a fashion girl. Like it is just the way that she doesn't let the clothes wear her. Like she wears the clothes, and she just brings these outfits to life in such a beautiful way. Custom Prada, Dior, Givenchy, that lace look that she wore in Paris was just like unbelievable. And I love seeing the way that she plays with different textures and different, like shapes with her body and things like that. And like the one outfit she did where like it was like kind of like a floating top, and like she just has such a unique way of playing with fashion that's really admirable, and I love seeing what she does with her looks all the time. Ariana has done a few pink looks here and there. She had like one true full pink look. She did one, I think it was Givenchy, like kind of fairy-like kind of gown, very Glinda, but she has been kind of going a little off the beaten path. But I think the biggest moment so far for me for this press tour, she did two Gilbert Adrian gowns. One of them was in London for the premiere, and one of them I think was just like a press day. They were out and about doing press. But Gilbert Adrian he was the head designer for costumes at MGM for like 20 something years. But The Wizard of Oz, it was towards the end of his career there, but it really like catapulted him into the mainstream, and he designed these gowns. And she pulled out, I mean, it's really Law Roach doing what Law Roach does best and finding these crazy archival pieces. But like the one that she wore the other day was literally a 1952 archival gown that they were able to pull out of the archives for her to wear to this premiere. And it was a gown that Adrian, he designed for this movie. And just like seeing the way that she's still paying homage to The Wizard of Oz, and like the fact that she is so tapped in with Law Roach to make just like the most out of these press looks and everything. It is just really, everything they're doing is so perfect, and I'm just obsessed. And I can't believe the movie, this like era is coming to an end, but every good thing has to come to an end, and at least we got to live through this Wicked era together, like at least we got to experience the magic of this movie through the podcast and through everything else on the internet and everywhere else. But like I said, I am seeing the movie in less than a week, and I cannot believe the Wicked era is coming to an end so soon. But make sure you tune in next week for my Wicked for Good review. I am so excited to talk to you guys about this movie. Holy fucking shit. And with that wraps up all of our rapid fire moments from the week, but we have a very exciting main topic for this week's show. The 2026 Grammy nominations are here, and I am here to give you all of my predictions on who is going to win in some of the biggest categories of the year. Now, before we get into all of the categories, just some facts from this year's Grammys. The most nominated artists are Kendrick Lamar with 9 nominations, Lady Gaga with 7 nominations, and Bad Bunny, Sabrina Carpenter, and Leon Thomas are all tied with 6 nominations. Now, Kendrick, Gaga, Bad Bunny, Sabrina, I'm not surprised with them being top contenders in these nominations. They have all had huge mainstream years. But Leon Thomas, being one of the most nominated artists of this year's Grammys, was not on my bingo card. And you know what? Hell fucking yeah. Leon Thomas has been working his ass off for years, from being on Broadway to being on Victorious to producing to writing to making his own music and having this big moment this year with Mutt and just like really killing the game, and seeing him up there with these huge names. And not that he's not a huge artist, whatever. But like in the mainstream, Leon Thomas is not a name that is as recognizable as Kendrick Lamar, as Lady Gaga, as Bad. It is just a fact. I don't make the rules. So seeing him in this group is so incredible. And I'm so excited to see what he does in this Grammy year and like what he takes home. But with that being said, we're going to go through the big 4 categories and then just a few extra ones that I think, are very too pop to handle coded. I'm going to read through all the nominations, and then I'm going to give you my prediction on who is going to win. Kicking it off with the big one every single year, Album of the Year. We have Justin Bieber, Swag, Bad Bunny, Debí Tirar Más Fotos, Sabrina Carpenter, Man's Best Friend, Clips, Pusha T, and Malice, Let God Sort 'Em Out, Lady Gaga, Mayhem, Kendrick Lamar, GNX, Leon Thomas, Mud, and Tyler, the Creator, Chromacopia. So based on this list, I think we have a 3-way race right now for Bad Bunny, Lady Gaga, and Kendrick Lamar. I think one of those 3 is a shoo-in to win for sure. Personally, my album of the year from this list is Lady Gaga's Mayhem. I think Mayhem has been not only Lady Gaga's true return back to like the Lady Gaga that we all met back in like 2008, 2009, and that kind of like dark pop kind of vibe, Bad Romance, Judas, like that kind of vibe era. But I just think this album has really stood the test of time this year, where sometimes you release an album, this album came out in March, and sometimes by now we're forgetting about these albums and we're not listening to them. But Gaga has been on tour constantly. She has been consistently, finding ways to promote this album and re-releasing it and giving us these bonus tracks with Wednesday and, all of these new ways to kind of get it back in front of us. And even like thinking about the way that she announced this era or like really kicked it off. She did Disease, but then like Abracadabra premiered during the Grammys this year. And like that was such a huge moment. And just thinking about the momentum that is built since then, she's continuing the tour next year. Like I just really think this was Lady Gaga's year in terms of music. And I would love to see her take home Album of the Year for Mayhem. But I mean, Bad Bunny, Kendrick Lamar, they also had crazy years. So I would not be surprised if the 2 of them took it home either. But Lady Gaga does have my pick there. Next up is Record of the Year. And the nominees are Bad Bunny, DTMF, Sabrina Carpenter, Manchild, Doechii, Anxiety, Billie Eilish, Wildflower, Lady Gaga, Abracadabra, Kendrick Lamar and SZA, Luther, Chappell Roan, The Subway, and Rosé and Bruno Mars, Apathy. Now, if you listened to last week's episode, I was saying I want The Subway to be nominated for Record of the Year so bad, because I think it is such a standout song from just like sonically, production, everything about it. I think it is such a beautifully produced song, and I am thrilled to see Record of the Year to see The Subway nominated for Record of the Year. So that is my personal choice, though I do really think that Kendrick Lamar and SZA have a really fair shot with Luther. I think this was a huge year for the 2 of them, and I think the Grammys do love Kendrick Lamar. He's the most nominated. He has so many Grammys. He has a lot of Grammys. So like they do love him. I could see them going that way. I think for me, at least, I do think Record of the Year is between Kendrick and SZA or Chappell Roan. I think those are the ones who are going to take it. I can kind of see a world where Doechii takes it for Anxiety just because that song really did kind of take over before it was released. But the problem with Anxiety is like once it was released, everybody turned their back on Doechii. Not me. I did not because I still like the song. But everybody turned their back on Anxiety once it finally came out. And I don't know if the record, the is going to like take into consideration the way it kind of disappeared once it was fully released, because that is just a weird way in which the internet works. We beg and we beg and we beg for a song, and then when it finally comes out, everybody pays it dust. So we will see. I'm not sure how they're going to navigate that. But like I said, I think Luther or The Subway will definitely take home Record of the Year. For Song of the Year, the nominees are Lady Gaga, Abracadabra, Doechii, Anxiety, Rosé and Bruno Mars, Apathy, Bad Bunny, DTMF, Huntrix, Golden, Kendrick Lamar and SZA, Luther, Sabrina Carpenter, Man-Child, and Billie Eilish, Wildflower. Now, I mean, seeing Huntrix on this list with Golden, I did say this last week, and I said, like, I wouldn't be surprised if I seen them on this list. I honestly think they have a really fair shot at taking this award home just for the fact that, like, they have been on the Billboard Hot 100 chart so long this year. They were the biggest Halloween costume this year. Like, K-pop Demon Hunters really did dominate 2025 for a long time. And, like, I could see a world where they do take this home. It would be a huge moment. Now, personally, it's not my song of the year. I would give that to Abracadabra. But I could see a world where Huntrix does take this home. And just kind of thinking of the Grammys and the Academy, they do love Bruno Mars. I don't know if Apathy had the longevity to be Song of the Year. I think it had a Song of the Moment, but I don't think it was like a song that lasted the whole year. I think it had a really big moment when it came out, and it did trail for a little while. There was kind of like, it lingered for a little bit, but I don't know if it stuck around the entire year the way that Abracadabra, and not that Golden was out the whole year, but I don't think we're gonna have the end of Golden for a while. Like, K-pop Demon Hunters is not slowing down at all. So personally, I would love Abracadabra, but I could see them picking Golden or maybe Apathy just because they love Bruno Mars so much. Like, they love that man. Rightfully so. He's very talented. But we will see. There is a world Bad Bunny gets it. Like, Bad Bunny really did. He's been everywhere. Like, he has really been making such headlines. He is doing the Super Bowl next year. Like, he is having a standout year. I don't know. This is hard. This is a year also where, like, I don't see one clear sweep. I think there's going to be a year where we get a Katie Heron at the dance, breaking up the crown, and everybody gets a piece of it. And it's not just one clean sweep, which we have seen the last few years where it's been kind of spread out. Beyonce did take home a few last year, and Sabrina as well. But there wasn't like one, there was that year that Billie Eilish won every single award. Like, I don't think we're going to have one of those years again. I think we're going to have a year where it is kind of an evenly split pie. So we will see. I could see it really being a mixed bag in terms of those big three there. And then the final of the big four categories is Best New Artist, where we have Olivia Dean, Cat's Eye, The Marias, Somber, Leon Thomas, Alex Warren, Lola Young, and Addison Rae. I am so thrilled to see Addison Rae nominated for Best New Artist because that is my girl. But I will say, I don't think she's winning Best New Artist, respectfully. I just don't think they're going to give it to her. I think she has too much of like a TikTok influencer background for them to respect it, unfortunately, which I also think is a problem with Alex Warren. I think Alex Warren is incredibly talented. I think he had a standout year, but I do think the Academy has some weird thing against like YouTube, TikTok singers, TikTokers becoming singers and things like that. I don't know if that respect is there for either of them to win it. However, Olivia Dean, Cat's Eye, Leon Thomas, I could see clearly winning this without a doubt. And Lola Young. I would say Lola Young as well. I don't know how they're going to do with Lola Young in terms of her like having kind of that negative connotation the rest of the year. She had to have that moment where she is stepping back, things like that. I don't know if they take things like that into consideration. I personally wouldn't, but who knows what the Academy is thinking. But I think Olivia Dean, Cat's Eye, Leon Thomas have a very fair shot at winning for this. Leon Thomas having so many nominations, it does seem like they are really in favor of him. So I could see a world in which they give him Best New Artist because he has 6 nominations, and clearly that speaks for his talent so much. And I mean, to be the best, you have to also be nominated elsewhere, I think. And I think he is somebody who really does shine in this category. So I think Leon Thomas is my main contender for this, but I think Olivia Dean and Cat's Eye are right there underneath him for the Best New Artist category. So that wraps up our big four categories. But like I said, I plucked a few categories that are just very Too Pop to Handle coded. So I'm going to run through them very quick and just give you my 2 cents. First up, Best Pop Solo Performance. We have Justin Bieber, Daisies, Sabrina Carpenter, Manchild, Lady Gaga, Disease, Chappell Roan, The Subway, and Lola Young, Messy. Now, out of this list, I think Daisies, Manchild, or The Subway have the best, are the best runners for this. I think Justin Bieber really could take this, but he has to show up. If he doesn't show up to the awards, I don't think they would give it to him. And I don't know if he will. This isn't really his thing. He doesn't like to show up to award shows. He doesn't like to make many public appearances. However, he is doing Coachella. He does have to kind of get it together and things like that. So this might be a good dress rehearsal. Maybe he shows up, gets the award, and then he's like, oh, I'm good to go for Coachella. I don't have to worry about anything. I just did my Grammy acceptance speech. I'm good to go. I just don't know if they would give, unless they announce this not on the air. Who knows? But I do think Justin Bieber winning a Grammy is a moment that they would want on camera. He is Justin fucking Bieber. So I think Daisy's had a really clear shot at winning this. But we will see. I don't know. I do think Sabrina Carpenter is going to get something. I do think Manchild is going to win something. I just don't think it's going to win one of the big categories. I think she is going to get one of these. Not that these are any lesser, but they're not a main 4 category. So could see a world which that happens. I don't think Disease would get Best Pop Solo. I just don't know if it has that, because I do think Gaga is going to get some of the bigger categories, and I don't know if they would give her one of these. I don't know. We will see. I'm not the Academy, not yet. Maybe one day I'll be on the Academy and that would be fucking incredible, but I am not yet. So until that day, we're just guessing. For Best Pop Duo Group Performance, we have Cynthia Erivo, Ariana Grande, Defying Gravity, K-Pop Demon Hunters, Golden, Cat's Eye, Gabriella, Rosé and Bruno Mars, Apathy, and SZA and Kendrick Lamar, 30 for 30. I could see Defying Gravity, Golden, or Apathy taking this. I think those 3 are the clear front runners. Again, K-Pop Demon Hunters, they are not slowing down at all. And I think they really have just dominated this year. But I also see a world where Wicked has also been the name on everybody's lips. So maybe they take it, but there's also a world where we are getting the Wicked for Good soundtrack in this new Grammys, tracking year. So maybe like the Oscars, they don't give it to them for the first movie and they get it for the second. Again, I'm not the Academy. I don't know, but I would love to see Ariana and Cynthia getting a Grammy together. I think that would be a really incredible moment just for the world. And the world needs as many incredible moments as we can get right now. So I would love to see that. For Best Pop Vocal Album, we have Justin Bieber, Swag, Sabrina Carpenter, Man's Best Friend, Miley Cyrus, Something Beautiful, Let's Fucking Go, Lady Gaga, Mayhem, and Teddy Swims, I've Tried Everything But Therapy Part 2. For this one, I see it either going to Sabrina Carpenter, Man's Best Friend, or Lady Gaga, Mayhem, depending on how they swing album, record, and song of the year. If they are giving Gaga a lot of the bigger categories like album, record, song of the year, I don't see her taking any of these awards. If they end up not giving her any of the big 4 categories, I see her sweeping in Best Pop Solo, Best Pop Vocal, and all of these categories down here. So it really depends where the Academy is swinging on the Gaga pendulum this year. I also see a world where she takes home Best Pop Vocal Album and Album of the Year, and that's all she gets, because if you think about last year, Beyonce won Best Country Album and then Album of the Year. I could see a world where they do that as well. Who knows? But again, Sabrina does have a really fair shot at this, I think, because she is going to get something from Man's Best Friend. I don't see her winning a big 4 category, or big 3, I guess, category. I just don't think it wasn't out long enough to say it was the album of the year for this Grammy cycle, which I think kind of hurts her. I think she should have waited to release it in the next cycle. But again, not my circus, not my monkeys. But nonetheless, I could see Sabrina or Gaga taking this. But also, let me just say, I'm so proud to see Miley Cyrus nominated for a Grammy 3 years in a row. We went so long without her getting any recognition for the Academy. She only had a nomination for Bangers and she lost it. She has Flower. She has Two Most Wanted. She has gotten her fair share of Grammy recognition. And the fact that she at least got a single nomination for this album makes me so happy, because it is such an incredible album and deserves so many more flowers than it got. I am thrilled to see her on this Best Pop Vocal Album nominations, but I don't think she's going to win just given the other albums there. I think it deserves it, but just given what else is nominated, I'm not sure Miley will take it home. I'd be thrilled, but I don't see it for my girl this year. But I think a nomination, is your recognition enough? Let her take what she can get. Rounding it out with our last two, we have Best Music Video. We have Sade, Young Lion, Sabrina Carpenter, Man-Child, Clips, So Be It, Doechii, Anxiety, and OK Go, Love. I say full send. Sabrina Carpenter, Man-Child deserves Best Music Video. I think that music video is one of the most creative and out of the box and just wacky videos I've seen in a very long time, and I love it. It is truly like a short film. It is so different and artistic and just really speaks to the way Sabrina visualizes her art. And I think the Man-Child music video is truly the best music video we have gotten all year long. I also see a world where Doechii, Anxiety gets it just because we assume that they love Doechii because she was the third woman ever to win Best Rap Album last year. So like they do love Doechii, which we love to see. We love Doechii here at Too Pop to Handle. So maybe Anxiety just for like the nostalgia of it and the way that there's like that message behind it. I'll be honest, I haven't seen the other three videos, so I can't speak for them, but I really think Man-Child should get best music video. It is outstanding. And then the final category that I'm going to give my 2 cents on is Best Dance Pop Recording. The nominees are Selena Gomez and Benny Blanco, Blue is Flame, Lady Gaga, Abracadabra, Zara Larsson, Midnight Sun, Tate McRae, Just Keep Watching from F1 the Movie, and Pink Pantheress, Illegal. Now, if I had it my way, easily Zara Larsson, Midnight Sun, no other question. But it is not my way, as we know. So I could see this going Gaga, Selena, Benny, or Zara Larsson. I think those three are the ones that are really or four, I guess, if you can, as the Blancos, as a couple. I think those make the most sense to win. And again, it depends how the Academy wants to swing the Gaga pendulum. If they're going to give her like record, song, album, any of those, I don't see Best Dance Pop Recording. But I could see her getting this one and then not winning one of the bigger ones. And that's kind of how they subsidize it. Because there's no world where Mayhem gets none, right? Like could you imagine a world where Mayhem gets 0 Grammys and here I am saying she's going to win everything? Like, I'll be plucked, to say the least, but I don't think that a world where Mayhem takes nothing this Grammys year. Like, I just think it was too big of an album and like too much of a moment in culture to not take home something. So again, it kind of depends where they kind of play their cards there. But I do think Selena and Benny have a fair share. I think Blue is Flame is one of the best songs released this year, which is crazy for me to say that a Selena Gomez and Benny Blanco song is one of my favorites of the year, but I love that song. And also Zara Larsson, Midnight Sun is just like unbelievably incredible, like truly one of the best pop songs we've gotten in years. So I would love to see it go anyway. So we will see. I don't know. Grammys are on Sunday, February 1st. So we have a few more months. We're only like 2.5 months away. So it'll be here like that before we even know it. And before we end with the Grammy conversation, some big surprises for me. Number one, nothing for The Weeknd. I am shocked that The Weeknd did not get nominated, considering he did that surprise performance for them and like they made up and there was like the olive branch after the way that they like completely had a falling out with him in the Academy and he like swallowed his pride, did the Grammys performance, and then he gets no nominations. I thought that was crazy and they completely dogged him there. Nothing for Tate's album was shocking. She got the nomination for the song from the F1 movie, but nothing for her album. Like none of her individual solo songs are nominated anywhere, which I feel so incorrect because Tate had a huge year, let alone the music being really good. Like she had a huge year just like commercially. She was killing it on tour. She was everywhere. Like I'm shocked to see her not getting anything for her album. Like I am really surprised there. And then the biggest heartbreak to me is not a single nomination for my girl, Jade. Nothing. And now, like I said last week, her album is eligible in next year's Grammy cycle. It was only some singles and like Best New Artist that she was nominated for. But I don't know if I see a world where she's going to take an album that came out and like, revive it next year to make it an album. She won't get album of the year, I know, but like best pop performance, things like that. Like, I don't know how she's going to revive it in that sense. And that breaks my heart because that Showbiz Baby is one of the best albums, if not the best album released all year, in my opinion. And it breaks my heart that it won't have any Grammy wins, but you know what? Neither does Melodrama by Lorde. And that is what I tell myself every Grammy cycle when my favorite artists don't get the nominations or the win what they want. Melodrama by Lorde has 0 Grammys and it is still one of the best albums, if not the best album ever created. And at the end of the day, it's just a silly trophy. Whether they win it, whether they don't, the world's going to keep spinning. There are much bigger problems in the world. So that being said, those are my Grammy 2026 predictions. Very excited for this year. Like I said, lots and lots of people nominated. And I think it's going to be a year where it's very much kind of an even distribution of all the awards. I'm not sure I see a clear sweep, but we will have to wait and see. With that, let's head into our TV recap because you guys know we are in the middle of a Real Housewives of Salt Lake City season. And I'm going to be completely honest, it is so evident that all of these women fucking hate each other. Like, I have nothing else to say about this season other than like the list of girls on this season that are friends is so much shorter than the list of girls who hate each other, because I don't even know if like any of them are genuinely friends anymore. Like Whitney and Heather, yes. Mary and Angie, yes. I don't even think Lisa and Meredith are really friends anymore. I don't think there are any true friendships truly on this season. I mean, again, this is very parasocial of me, but like, it just seems like these women hate each other so much and are looking at any opportunity to dog each other. And like, that is just not a way to run a friendship. And like, if everybody is thinking everyone else talking shit and everyone's, feeding rumors to the press and this and that, like, who can they trust? And like, they have been burned so many times on this show that it almost feels like it's starting to like cannibalize their friendships, and like nobody can trust anybody because everybody's worrying like, are they talking shit? Are they talking shit? Are they doing things behind my back? Are they the ones feeding the press? Are they going to scam me? Are they going to do this? Like, it feels like they all kind of have this guard up towards each other, and like, I don't know where anybody's loyalty lies anymore. Truly, I do not know. I don't even think like Heather and Lisa, I thought they were great this season. And now Heather's the one throwing this at Lisa's face on the boat, being like, you're the one feeding the blogs, aren't you? Lisa and Bronwyn make up at Lisa's bar 3 episodes ago, and now we're seeing Lisa talking shit about her kids like she said she would not do 4 episodes later. Like, it just feels like everybody on this season is truly just looking out for themselves, which if they all feel that burned by the show, I get it. That is fine. They have all been through a lot together, but it just feels like nobody has a genuine relationship anymore, and it kind of sucks. Like, this is supposed to be, there's supposed to be some type of sisterhood throughout, there's supposed to be some type of true bond, and I really think the only true bond that we have anymore is Whitney and Heather, and even they have like such baggage in their closet. It's so upsetting to see. Yeah, I just like, it's not a bad season by all means. Like, I'm not checked out. I'm loving the season still. I'm watching it. But like, the only thing I can think as I'm watching it is these women fucking hate each other. Like, they truly, none of them like each other. None of them are true friends. And all of them are just on this show because it is still getting views. And it breaks my heart because I love this show and I love, the friendships and whatever throughout. But I just don't think there's anything real about the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City friendships anymore. I think it is truly all just when the cameras are up. And maybe that's how it is on other seasons too. And it's just like not as evident. But I really am like, these women do not like each other. Like, there is truly no love between any of these women. I don't think it is all fabricated. And I just think that is really upsetting, but I'm going to watch it. Like, I'm obsessed. I love it. I'm going to watch it. This is still one of the best shows on reality TV. Like, it's not turning me away, but it's just my observation from this last week's episode. And I just, even when I was like trying to put my notes together, I was like, everything I'm saying is like, this person hates this person. This person hates this person. It's easier for me to do a blanket statement about the episodes because like, I just like, even the conversation between Lisa and Meredith on the beach where they're like arguing about things and this and that. And like, Meredith is so checked out from all of these girls. It's so evident that she wants nothing to do with these girls anymore. And she's only on the show because like it helps her and her brand and things like that, which is totally fine. That's like a totally normal marketing tactic to take. Like, you need the exposure, and like Meredith does add a lot of fun things to this show. But it's just like, I thought Lisa and Meredith were supposed to be like solid as a rock. And then we're seeing them even slipping through the cracks. It's just like, where are the friendships? Where are the people who trust each other? And where are the girls who actually enjoy each other's company? Because it is far and few. Maybe once they get off the yacht, it'll be a little less crazy. Like, maybe the yacht is too much salt water. Are they in an ocean? I don't even know. Too much, too much sea time, too much, beach, too many margaritas, too much going on that boat. Maybe once they get back on land, there'll be some type of like real concrete love between any of them. But as of right now, while they all have their sea legs, these bitches are fucking crazy. And that is my TV recap. There's really like nothing else to say about this season right now besides everybody hates each other. And I don't know where they're all going to go. I truly don't know where the season's going to go. I do know that they released the mid-season trailer today. I didn't get a chance to watch it yet, but Mary does go back to the church. So I am excited to see that plot line kind of come back because that is when Mary is her craziest. When Mary's church is open, that is when she is the most insane. And I'm very curious to see how this plays into this new era of Mary and if it affects her and Angie and things like that. Like, I'm really curious to see how, like, you know, opening up this old closet and era of Mary's past is going to affect present day Mary. But I guess we will have to wait and see. And before I say goodbye for the week, you guys know we end every single episode with a yes and a mess. My yes being something I am loving and my mess being something I am not loving. And we always start things on a high note here at Too Pop to Handle. So kicking it off on a high note with my yes is the fact that Jennifer Lawrence, Emma Stone, and Cole Escola are coming together and creating a Miss Piggy movie. And I could not think of a better trio to pay an icon like Miss Piggy. So Jennifer Lawrence was on Las Culturistas this week and spilled the beans on the fact that her and Emma are working on a movie in which Cole is writing about Miss Piggy. She did say that, like, her and Emma probably have to be in it, which, like, yeah, we need the two of them in a movie together. And if it's Miss Piggy that brings these two together, I will take it. And I truly can't think of a better group of people to do this. Like, let alone Jennifer Lawrence and Emma Stone being just, like, fantastic. Cole Escola writing the script for a Miss Piggy movie is what dreams are made of. And, like, what this really boils down to, and, like, what I'm really taking from this is, like, we have never been closer to seeing Miss Piggy as Mary Todd Lincoln in Oh Mary than we are right now. Like, if Cole is writing this movie about Miss Piggy, how long do we have until Miss Piggy is on Broadway as Mary Todd Lincoln? Because the Muppets are currently on Broadway in this magic show. So the Muppets can be on Broadway. What do we have to do to get Miss Piggy as Mary Todd Lincoln? Because I just feel like with Cole writing this movie and them having their hands, you know, in this Muppet world, I feel like we can get Miss Piggy in the White House. And I'm telling you right now, if Miss Piggy ever gets announced as Mary Todd Lincoln in Oh Mary, I will drop such a disgusting amount of money to see the insane camaraderie that happens at the Lyceum Theater. It is going to be, the earth is going to change. Like, I think opening night of that production, the world just combusts after. Like, it will be a one night only thing. And the earth is just like, we have done our job on this planet. We cannot go any further than this. Like, Miss Piggy as Mary Todd Lincoln is what makes the comet hit the earth. And I think we just are, like, reborn as a nation after that. Like, it would be so catastrophic, and I can't wait for it. But also, I will take this movie. Like, if all we get is Cole Escola writing the script for this movie that Jennifer Lawrence and Emma Stone are, you know, producing and directing together, I will take it. I'm content with just that. But my mind is, I'm always thinking about Oh Mary. Like, I am never not trying to sell somebody to go see this show. I am never not thinking about trying to go at a last minute ticket. Like, I am always thinking about Oh Mary. So the fact that, like, Cole Escola is so close to Miss Piggy, my first thought is, how do we get Miss Piggy to star in Oh Mary? And I think that is my new life mission. I will keep you guys updated. If I start a petition, if I start a GoFundMe, I will have it linked down below. But I just think we are closer to Miss Piggy as Mary Todd Lincoln than we have ever been. And switching gears over to my mess for the week is this whole debacle online right now about Taylor Swift and the White House using her audio, and everyone saying that, like, her not speaking up about Trump using her audio is her saying that she's, co-signing his agenda and all this stuff. And I just need everybody to wake the fuck up. Taylor Swift has been so politically outspoken throughout her career, whether it is endorsing Kamala Harris just last year, whether it is always urging her fans to go vote, whether it is making Biden cookies back in 2020, like, she releasing Only the Young, releasing an entire documentary where she is literally bashing Donald Trump and talking about, like, how evil it is that the people in power in our country are okay with people stalking and sexual assault and all these things. Like, Taylor Swift has made it very clear where she stands politically. And there's this weird side of the internet where people do not believe what she's saying. And I just am like, at what point, like, what does she have to do to convince people that she does not co-sign what Donald Trump is doing? Like, I don't understand what it is about Taylor Swift specifically that people cannot get through their head that, like, she's not this, like, fake and phony I don't like, again, this is parasocial. I don't Taylor Swift. And I'm the first one to call Taylor Swift out on her bullshit. Like, you guys know this. I am the first one to be like, hey, this is weird. Hey, why are you doing this? Hey, what's going on here? But in a situation like this, where we have seen Taylor Swift fully denounce and just like go against Donald Trump so many times, and not even just Donald Trump, just like shown us where she stands politically so many times. I just don't get why people think her not publicly speaking up about Donald Trump using her audio on TikTok means that she is a Republican and voted for Trump and all of this shit. Like, here's what I think is really happening with the White House and Donald Trump using Taylor Swift's music on TikTok. I think Taylor and her team are doing this privately and are trying to figure out how they can go after him for using this music without making it a big public scenario, because of the fact that Donald Trump and his insane cult followers are so evil and at a more heightened and dangerous level than ever. Like, they are truly fucking insane right now. Like, it is a scary time to be anybody against Donald Trump right now. And I think, rightfully so, she's probably a little scared to be so vocal about it right now, with just, she's more public than ever. Like, she is out and about more than ever. You can almost guarantee to find her at a Chiefs game every single Sunday, Monday, Sunday, what days do they play football? Whatever days they play football, you can pretty much guarantee Taylor Swift is going to be at the Chiefs game watching her fiance play. Like, she is more accessible than ever. She's out and about in New York City here and there. And like, I don't blame her for being a little afraid to speak out that publicly when she is such a public figure. And like, yeah, I don't think I would be the most vocal person either if I had somebody who was breaking into my home every few months and I had all these stalkers trying to get into my house and things like that. Like, do I wish Taylor Swift would come out and say, stop using my music publicly? Yes. But I would put money on the fact that her, Tree Payne, and all of her lawyers are working on a case to figure out how they can make sure he does not use her music and how they can sue him to make sure this doesn't happen. And I would not be surprised if in a month, 2 months, however long it takes for all of this to come to fruition, if we get a statement from her, because she does like to move privately. Like, she isn't always coming forward publicly right away. She takes a little bit to talk about things because she is a very public figure, and people take what she says very heavily. For somebody who is not a politician, people take Taylor Swift's word very, very heavily and to their heart. So like, yes, I understand that on the surface, it appears that like she is not denouncing Donald Trump for using her music and her audios, but like there are bigger problems in the world, such as Nicki Minaj reposting Donald Trump on TikTok every single week, talking about how happy he is that he is like ripping people away from their families and like helping with like all of these things. Like, I just think there are a lot bigger issues to worry about when somebody like Taylor Swift, who has been so politically vocal in the past, she doesn't need to prove herself over and over and over again. We know where she stands. She would not have endorsed Kamala last year if she wasn't endorsing Kamala. Like, that is a huge thing for her to do, and she knew the safety risk that it put her at for doing that. I would put money on within 6 months, we will have some type of public statement or at least some acknowledgement from Taylor or her team or whoever it is, showing that they made sure that Donald Trump did not use her music ever again, because I just don't think this is a situation in which she can go public with it because of the severity of how dangerous these people who follow Donald Trump and him and his administration are. Like, I think it would be stupid for her to do it, honestly, because it would put her at risk, as it puts any of us at risk. Like, no, you can't win right now. Like, you cannot win in this situation. Like I was saying earlier, NBC is cutting out lines that were talking about Wicked because they're afraid that Donald Trump is going to take them off air. We just watched how many late night hosts get cut from the air because they were talking negatively about Donald Trump. Like, this is a very scary time, and a very like it just seems like everybody has these rules that you can follow or whatever, but like Taylor Swift is always the exception. And like, if she is not immediately cursing out Donald Trump online, and like, mind you, she's not really online ever. Like, she doesn't really make big statements that often. Like, you know, when she does, it is a big thing. Like, she's not somebody who is posting regularly. I just am like, she gets this weird magnifying glass on her, the way that people watch her. And as soon as she does one thing that people don't like, she's a Republican, she hates women, she's this, she's that. And it's just like, hang it up, my God. Like, I hate to ever defend a billionaire like this. Like, I'm not, and like I said, I call Taylor Swift out on a lot of bullshit. There was a lot of things that Taylor Swift does that I do not agree with. And as a huge Taylor Swift fan, I can admit when she is wrong and when I don't love everything she is doing. However, in this situation, when she has been so politically spoken for so many years, I just don't get why a TikTok is what is like breaking the camel's back. I don't know. Maybe I'm insane. Maybe I'm sipping on the Kool-Aid too much with Taylor Swift, but like, I don't know. It just seems fucking insane. Like, there are much bigger problems in the world than whether or not Taylor Swift is fighting with Donald Trump online about him using her music. And I'm going to leave it at that before I dig a grave deeper for myself. But with all of that being said, thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode of Too Pop to Handle. If you're listening to us at the podcast and you love what you heard, make sure you go ahead and leave us a 5-star rating. If you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and hit subscribe, drop a comment, hit the like button, all the things you can do except for dislike. If you would like some extra moments for the week that were just too pop to handle in between podcast episodes, make sure you head to my Substack and subscribe to my weekly newsletter, Popping In, where I share an extra newsletter every single weekend of some extra bonus moments from the week that were just too pop to handle. And if all of that is not enough, you can always follow us on social media at Andrew Nucatola or at Too Pop to Handle across all platforms. And with that, I will catch you guys next week with my Wicked for Good review. Bye!